So Chiz, obviously, it was pretty tough news to get. How did you sort of feel when we did get the news?
Yeah, I think from memory, it was a really strange morning. You could tell there was something wrong. I think we did gym and then they'd shoehorned a meeting in really last minute. I think going into that room, just approach it normally, like laughing, joking, everyone in good spirits, and then there was just no way to deliver that news, and Conor O'Shea got up the front and delivered it, which was absolutely devastating. We've never been in a meeting like that before or since. And a lot of kind of denial. I remember the academy guys stayed in behind, didn't we? We had a lot of questions. You know, how sure are they? Can they identify his car? Can they do this? Can they do that? Just absolute denial, and the feeling in that room was just devastating.
It was just an emptiness. I just felt like an emptiness. Like I remember sitting there, like I can picture it now. Do you know what I mean? It was just obviously it's just so devastating. It's just a shock, complete shock.
Yeah, and I think then going into a Challenge Cup final in Lyon, it's just so surreal of like, none of this matters. When things like that happen, you just come crashing back down to earth, and that rugby game did not matter at all. But a group of 23 blokes had to prepare and try and win it. And you can't park your rugby mentality of, you know, we want to win, the club wants to achieve something, and you've got this black cloud hanging over you, which was just crazy. We got remember getting the train down with an on 23, a minute of silence before the game, everyone's in tears.
Yeah.
Then the lads have got to go and play 80 minutes of rugby. You forget for 80 minutes, and then the changing room after having lost. Again, never experienced anything like it. Like Conor was a shell of a man, having to deliver that news, deal with it himself, and then try and G up a team to win a Challenge Cup final. Just, I don't know how anyone dealt with it that week. The quietest, we obviously did lose, but the quietest changing room I've ever been into.
It's just wild. Even the day, like we had a full day's training ready to go, and it was, I remember it was almost like an uncertainty of what do you guys want to do, sort of thing. And it was like, well, we don't really know what we want to do, but I don't know, like we had such a good sort of academy group. Our 2 years were really close. We went through the age grade stuff together, and we created some real close bonds, and I think that sort of helped massively. I think we actually just like sort of stuck together and tried to almost play a bit of touch rugby or something, just to almost try and make sense of it all. It was just a weird place to be.
I think that was it's obviously terrible news, and the best thing about receiving news like that in a place like this is we had a really good group, close people, close friendships, and we could stick together. And is there anything else that you did away from this place and in this place to deal with something as devastating as that?
I think I sort of bounced off you lads quite a lot. Would ask you questions, and again, obviously my family and stuff like that. My family were always very close to Liz. As I said, going through the school and all the age grade stuff, they created quite a close bond as well. My dad giving lifts to Seb back and forward to train on Monday nights and stuff like that. It was, you almost forget how close you really were. But I suppose it was the support group here, the tight-knit group that we had, and then family, I suppose. Like you think about it, we were so young. Yeah. So it was hard to prepare yourself for any news like that. You don't go through that really in your lifetime. It's quite scary, and then to have it so young, you sort of, how do I deal with this? So
yeah, I think that was so shocking. It was like how a young person with seemingly a lot going for them can end up doing something like that, which was again devastating. I think when we sit down and have these conversations, unfortunately you do go back to the weeks building up, and I definitely noticed signs, but I wasn't probably educated on mental health enough, and also just didn't see it like that. Being part of a rugby club, you know, you do grow and evolve, and not caring about certain things and caring about certain things, you do like grow into that. And I think unfortunately there was a few things of, you know, parking in the disabled spot and getting fined. He was just like, I don't care. Little bits like that. He tore his quad, remember he ruptured his quad off the bone for Richmond. someone who 12 months previous would have been absolutely devastated, gone home, iced it, went out with me, I was out with him, didn't seem to care, went home, and then had to have an operation come Monday, Tuesday, which again at the time I was like, well, you know, he's probably upset about his quad, but thinking back, you kind of pick up on those things, and if I'd go back, you would, you know, at least ask, is everything okay, and try and bring that to a conversation. Just wondering if there's anything that you noticed in the build-up as well.
It's probably similar stuff like that, as you said. I remember he was quite isolated because of his quad, of his injury, that his mum would drop him. He wasn't meant to be driving. His mum would drop him to work. He'd go in, he'd sort of be in for an hour and do his stuff and then go away, and he wouldn't almost want to see anyone. And I remember I caught him once coming into the change room. I was like, oh, what? I can give you a lift in if you want in the morning so you can be around the boys. And he was like, no, I'm okay. And I was like, oh, maybe he just wants to get in, get out and just do his own thing. But again, looking back, should I have been more proactive in being, no, come on, let's go together, let's have a bit of crack. But again, that's obviously looking back in time. You don't really feel that. Obviously, we were so young. Again, you don't really. You
just have no idea.
No, there's a bit of a stigma around our big bravado in rugby, but I don't think that's the case. You just got to be honest and be there and sort of read the signs and be caring. I suppose care for the people that are around you.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that's come out of it, isn't it? Of just gives you a kick to check in on each other, talk to each other. Even after that, you know, you ask that group a lot, how you getting on, how you finding it, which is powerful and important.
I think as well, like that group, we've stayed quite close together. Still talk to a lot of people that have left and haven't seen them for, say, 5-7 years, and we're still talking. Do you know what I mean? So I know in that sadness, we've stayed real close together. So I think that's obviously a good way of keeping Seb's name and memories with us.
Yeah,
so yeah.
I think a thought that I've had of checking in with one another is it's easy to be, you know, in this country, you're right, yeah, you're right. And it's just like, ask people how they are. If you notice something, I think it's really, really unnatural, but something we should push for is, if you do think someone's in that place, like, are you suicidal? Have you had suicidal thoughts? And ask that. And that's the kind of thing that you think about every now and then. If we went back and asked those questions, would there have been a different outcome? Would Seb have committed suicide?
You sort of, I think, like, you sort of ask questions that are almost teed up and such a throwaway thing, going, oh, you're all right, aren't you? So you almost answer the question for them. So I think if you leave a question open and read those signs and have a feeling, and we are all so close and we spend every minute of every day with each other, do you know what I mean? So I think we need to get to a point where, well, everyone gets to a point where if you notice these signs, that we are comfortable enough about talking about suicide, and it's a real thing. It created hurt for us, so I mean, I think we're in a comfortable place having to be able to talk about it, I think. Yeah, so obviously from Seb's passing, the Seb Foundation was set up. Could you sort of tell us the great things that they've done and what they're looking to do in the future? Yeah,
of course. I mean, every year we've hosted a game in his memory, and that's Harlequins versus Saracens this year in the Prem Cup at home, which is great fundraiser. We auction off loads of kit, signed shirts. We often have his former teammates in the 20s send us shirts, you know, Leicester Tigers, Saracens, so on, which is great. The two schools they went to, Whitgift and Wellington, play a game against each other every season, which is a fundraiser as well. So there's a lot of great work going on. And I think the other side of what the charity actually does now is pushing mental health in rugby. So they run seminars to upskill, you know, teachers, staff members, coaches, so on and so on, to spot the signs of somebody struggling with mental health, as well as running a kind of first aid course for mental health in young children with players and teammates and so on. So trying to tackle the stigma, as well as equip people with the means to support somebody struggling. And I think the thing is, if you said to me that you're struggling, I'm not necessarily qualified to help you. Mm-hmm. The example that the foundation give, if somebody hurt themselves on a rugby pitch, I couldn't strap you up or provide surgery or medical care for you, but I know someone who can. So I stick with you, I get you to that person, I get you through the door, and that's how I support you, which is really important. Mm-hmm. I think you don't want to, thing about suicide in young people is it can spread mental health. So it's really important to stick by one another and also get somebody through the door as well, rather than it being a bit of a domino effect. So that's what the foundation's going off at the moment, which is amazing.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Together we can challenge the stigma of mental health and make a positive difference. For more information on mental health or how you can help, go to www.sebsfoundation.org.